Hi everybody. This is literally the third time that I've tried to do this recording because I just keep getting my tongue all tied. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a couple of the terms that 8th hour might have, but 3rd hour might not, or 3rd hour may have, and 8th hour might not. You might have to stop and start the video, but we're just going to make sure everybody is on the same page. There are also going to be some terms that you have on your Act 1 notes that you're not going to fill in, and that's okay. You're not tested over those. Those are going to be things that we're going to point out later on in the as we read the play. So first what we're going to do is I'm pretty sure that 3rd hour has these terms, but 8th hour does not. So 3rd hour you can scroll through a little bit faster, but for right now we're going to take a moment and go through these words. So an adversary is somebody who is your enemy or a foe. If Shakespeare uses the word adversary, that's a 4-syllable word. And that means that that's a pretty important word because he's taking 4 syllables out of the 10 to use that word. Boisterous would be a word that I would describe the group of men as they were going to the Capulet party. They were to be rough and noisy and rowdy and kind of crude and rude. He doesn't use the word boisterous, but it is a word that's used to describe them. The word nuptials, yesterday Capulet used it with cousin Capulet, saying, hey, when was the last time we danced a merry dance? And they said the nuptials of whoever. That is the marriage ceremony. And then 8th period, you need to add the word shrift at the bottom. To go to shrift means to go to confession. All right, so 8th period, I know that you have this term because I was here today when we did it, but I do not believe 3rd period has it. So we're going to talk about a pun. A pun is a play on words. It is something that the words sound similar. And I need you to also make sure that you include that Mercutio is the one that loves to use puns. So when he was talking to Romeo, he would use words that sound very similar, and it was meant to make a joke. So for example, 2 of his most famous quotes is, but let them measure by what they will, and will measure a measure and be gone. And so most of us know that a measure of dance, a measure of music, and then we dance. So and then they're going to measure a measure. They're going to go on and measure the girls. Okay, are they going to be swans or are they going to be crows? All right, and I don't think I explained it quite that way to 8th hour. A visor for a visor means that he's going to put on a mask so he can go into hiding. And that is pretty much Mercutio. He liked to hide from people. So I have a few more puns here for us to, whoa, where did my puns go? Hold on. Did I lose them? Where are they? Oh, there they are. Here's some puns. Your entire marriage has been a hallucination. A mirage counselor instead of a marriage counselor. I now pronounce you he and she when English majors marry. So those are some examples of some puns. All right. So that should be everybody. Okay, we're going to leave the section that talks about characterization blank on your notes. Some of you might need to have this blank verse written down. A blank verse is, remember that they have the beat, but it's not rhymed. Okay. Some of the other terms that we're going to skip the words conflict. We had couplet. Epithet is something I don't know actually why I have that there. We're going to leave those kind of alone. All right. So foil is something that we talked about when you were freshmen, when we talked about Rainsford and Zaroff. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to start looking at the characters that are opposites in our story. For example, Tybalt is the foil for a lot of people because he's such a hothead. And I would say he's a stronger foil to Benvolio than he actually is to Romeo. But these are 2 characters that are on stage that are meant to act as opposites, and these contrasts allow us as viewers to kind of understand. We understand Romeo a little bit better because we understand he's not like Tybalt. Okay? All right. I think all these other terms we've had. Yep, we're good to go. All right, so going all the way down to Act 1, Scene 5, okay? What does Romeo think of Juliet the first time he sees her? He thinks she's the most beautiful person he's ever seen. And in fact, he compares her to, oh, I must teach the torches to burn bright. In other words, the sun is she is more beautiful than the sun. And you're going to find out that Romeo constantly compares her to something that's light. He is able to recognize Romeo. Tybalt is able to recognize Romeo by his voice. And remember, we said that it was kind of interesting. How does he know him so well that he knows him by his voice? Okay? When Tybalt is ready to seize Romeo and throw him out of the party, Capulet jumps in and says, you know what, Romeo's not so bad. He's pretty dignified and he's honorable. And Lord Capulet says he's not going to show him any disrespect. And Capulet says ignore him and have a good time at the party. The problem is that we know that Tybalt didn't do this, that Tybalt gets very upset, probably a little embarrassed because he gets chewed out so badly, and he vows revenge. Okay? So it sounds really interesting that during their conversation, Romeo ends up kissing Juliet twice, and we said Juliet probably fell in love with Romeo at that point. How do we know that? She kisses him. Okay, she doesn't leave, and as he's leaving, she finds out, if he be married, my grave is like that of a wedding bed. She actually is like, I'm all in. Okay. How does Romeo find out Juliet's name? He asks. Okay. And how did Juliet find out Romeo's name? She asks. And the reason that we want to point out that the nurse is constantly giving them information is that's kind of the role of the nurse, is that she's going to be going back and forth between Romeo and Juliet and kind of being their go-between. Okay? All right. So what we're going to have you do now is we're going to have you get out your computers, and Mr. Van Briesen is going to load Quizlet Live. You might have to help him a little bit in what do you choose, like we choose the traditional usually, but the link is going to be there for him, and you guys will go through, and why don't you play a couple of rounds. Remember that on Monday the quiz is going to include terms, it's going to include what's happened, and it's going to include quotes. So please make sure that you take a little bit of time and you study. All right, good luck and have a great weekend.